y'all, it's your girl Ashley, and you're listening to Sex with Ashley podcast, where we talk about pleasure, sex, relationships, and how to feel confident in your body without the shame. If you're ready for real talk with real tools, you're in the right place. Now let's get into it.
What's another episode of Sex After? I am Ashley Cobb. On Sex After, we talk about all the different life changes that women go through and how it affects their sex life, good or bad. Today, I have Miss Tanya here. Hi, Miss Tanya.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. Nice for you to join us today.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
So, we are talking about, Miss Tanya, we're talking about how sex changes for the better as you get older, which is really good to know, right? Because I turn 40 in a month, and I'm looking forward to, as I get 50, 60, and 70, Lord's willing, to still being sexually active. So I would like to know, like, how, what to look forward to, right? How my sex life is going to change. Because you hear all of these negative things about sex when you get older. You hear about how, we go through menopause, and then we hear about how we dry out and all these different things. So you don't really hear a lot of positive things about older women and sex. So I'm excited for this conversation.
Okay. Well, as an older woman, and I just turned 68 years old.
Okay.
I guess when I was turning 40, I didn't even think about those things. I mean, I was just assuming it was always going to be there and it was always going to be good. But yes, it does become an issue if you let it become an issue. I have been, working in this field for some time, and actually began doing sexual health work with seniors about 20-something years ago. So when I was in my late 40s. And so one of the things I heard from a lot of women was, we were doing really HIV work.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing was, you would ask people, one of the key questions when you're doing HIV work is, are you sexually active?
Mm-hmm.
And I heard again and again from older women, I would be if I had somebody to be sexually active with. And so, that began to, really not be an issue, but I began to think about that. So then, going to different, just as you do, go to different conferences and workshops. So I went to a conference, and I went to a session about sexuality in older women. And one of the things that was said that has always stayed with me was, in order to keep your sexual health through the ages is to have at least 2 orgasms a week.
Oh, okay.
So, but again, just what I just said a few minutes ago, I mean, women are willing, but, being able to have somebody to have those orgasms with can be an issue, especially, what we're hearing now is that a lot of African American women especially are not in relationships. But the key there is, you got to take care of your sexual health, whether you're having sex or not. So, and I know that the issue of masturbation can be a little contentious for some,
Mm-hmm.
especially some people who may be of the faith community or not. But, when the person said 2 orgasms, they didn't say 2 orgasms with a partner. They said 2 orgasms.
2 orgasms.
So, being able to pleasure yourself is key as well.
So, I have a question, Ms. Tanya. So,
yeah.
do you think it is the reason why people are not having sex older is because, so you said some can't find a partner. Could it also be that their partners are not able?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As women get older and men get older, first and foremost, men don't take care of their sexual health as well as women do.
Correct.
Women go to the doctor more often. And I think, it's pretty much because we do have reproductive issues. Not issues necessarily, but we take care of our health better because of our reproductive organs.
Mm-hmm.
So, and men don't. And so, I'm a health educator, and I guess I call sex education my side hustle. So my day job is working with prediabetes. So getting men to go to the doctor is a chore in itself. And I always charge women, and I know it's unfair to charge women with making their men go to the doctor, but they have to because men are dying senselessly from things that could be prevented, and they're losing their sexual health because of things that are senseless, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, cardiovascular issues. So, in order for a man to continue performing, and we know that our men, are very, I call it ego involved in their sexual prowess. They have to be healthy. They have to first and foremost be healthy. And then that's also why a lot of older women have chosen to, I don't say chosen, because a lot of older women tell me that they're approached more so by younger men than they are by men their age. And, that's a whole discussion for a whole other day. But a younger man sometimes is better. I mean, I guess for me, I have encountered a partner as young as I was maybe in my early 60s, and he was in his not even 60s, late 50s, and having erectile dysfunction issues. So, it's happening earlier and earlier. But I guess that's one of the things you have to, we well know that to have good sex, you have to communicate well with your partner as well. So communicating to your partner that he needs to be healthy, that he needs to, keep up his exercise and whatnot is essential if you want to continue having sex with a partner. But like I said,
question. So what makes sex better after 50?
Well, for me, my confidence level after 50 went through the roof. I mean, after 50, my children were grown. Were they grown? Damn near, at least. But yeah, my children were grown and I didn't have to worry about their needs. So I only had to worry about my own needs. And so I began to, pour more into myself. So I felt more beautiful. I felt more sexy. But again, that's stuff that you have to do for yourself. I mean, I learned to buy lingerie more so, in my 50s. I, began to do more to try to keep my body in check in my 50s and into my 60s. I actually, since I turned 60, have lost quite a bit of weight. And so, I'm having a lot more fun with, buying the lingerie and the, the heels and the whatever, and dressing up and trying to do things when I'm, with my partner that I didn't do when I was younger. So, and I think I know more. I mean, my current partner, he jokes and he says, "You got me over here acting like a 21-year-old." And I was like, okay, but I didn't know I didn't know then what I didn't know when I was 21, what I know now. So I'm having better sex because I know more about better sex at 68 than I did at 21. And
okay, so what do you know now? So you say you know more stuff now. So what are those things that you know now at 68 that you did not know at 20?
I know my body. I know what feels good. I know what's pleasurable. I know, and that has been a process. I mean, that's not because anybody taught me that. That's because I have explored that. So, you have to, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, you have to pour into yourself. You have to learn what you like. One thing that I am passionate about at this stage of the game is telling women that they are allowed to have pleasure for themselves. They are not an instrument of pleasure for a man. They are they're supposed to be pleasured themselves, regardless of, again, a partner or not. So I know more about my own body than I did when I was I didn't even think about it when I was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. I just thought sex was sex, but I realize now that it's an art form. I'll just put it that way. So, yeah.
So question. So do you find that as you get older, I know you said a lot of younger men hit on older women. Why do you think that is?
I think that they do see that confidence in an older woman. I think they also maybe think that woman is not maybe after them for what they have and just want to be with them because of the notion of pleasure, possibly. I don't really know.
I've heard that. So I have a friend, he's a guy who dates older women, like a lot of older women. And I was like, well, why do you do that? And he was like, older women just want to have a good time. Like they are here for like the enjoyment of it, like the enjoyment of you. They want to go out, they want to do whatever we're gonna do, but they're not trying to build families. They're not trying to like, they're usually already established. They're not trying to, see what you can provide. They are literally just here for a good time. And I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Are you familiar with the book by Jill Nelson called Sexual Healing? That is a book that every older woman should read. It's basically about women who decide to start not a dating service really, but really just a service where women can partake of the pleasure of men. Similar to a brothel for, I guess you think of a brothel as women being there for men. Well, this was the reverse situation. And then there was also a movie, one of the Magic Mike movies that Jada Pinkett Smith was in. And I'm not, and like I said, for your podcast purposes, nobody is asking me to endorse either of these. These are just two things that struck me when I was through my sexual journey. The Magic Mike movie was about the same thing, about a woman who established basically a brothel, but she also had male dancers. So, I mean, I didn't even go see any male dancers until I was in my early 60s. So that wasn't anything. Yeah, that really wasn't anything I thought about. It really wasn't. I mean, I guess for some women it was, but for me it wasn't. In fact, when I was married, I was married 25 years, so my husband even encouraged me to go to a strip club with some of his coworkers one time because they were going to see some male dancers, and I just it wasn't something I was interested in, really. Okay. But it was fun. I found it fun, and I've also heard that going to a strip club with your partner can be fun.
It is.
I mean, I
love strip clubs. I tend to like the women better than the men because the women seem to be more entertaining to me. I don't know why that is. But I like strip clubs and I like going with my partner. It is a really good time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you got to be open. You got to be open to a lot of possibilities. Watching porn, I mean, I've done that. It's, again, not something that I do on the regular. In fact, my friend asked me that. He said, you don't sit up and watch porn on your phone? And, because we were talking about masturbation or something. I said, no. And it's just not something that really turns me on like that. But what it is, there again, you got to find out what turns you on. And I guess I'm one of these that, and much to my children's chagrin, I've always enjoyed sex. I've always talked about sex. I possibly was a little bit too open with my children about sex. But I guess my point, I didn't tell them about specific encounters and whatnot, and I still don't. But I talk about the fact that sex is to be enjoyed. It is enjoyable. It's something that, I intend to do my entire life. Oh, and you did mention something earlier that I did want to mention. You talked about the fact that you hear that when you get older, you dry out and whatever. That is true. And that, which goes back to what I was saying about the 2 orgasms a week. But, as many of us do, we go through dry spells. Right. Not pun intended, but not intended. Okay. But, I went through periods where I didn't have a partner and I just wasn't doing my due diligence, taking things into my own hands. Okay. And I did develop something called vaginal atrophy. Okay. So,
can you explain what that is for people who don't know?
Vaginal atrophy is basically when the lining of your vagina becomes dry and brittle, essentially. And you don't think about it becoming dry and brittle because it's an internal organ, but it can. So what happens is when you do possibly try to have sex with a new partner or whatever, it can be painful. You can have breakthrough bleeding, many things. But, if that does happen, it's essential to go to your doctor because it could be that, but it could be other things. I was
So how did you
tested
overcome it?
I'm getting to that.
Okay.
After I did go to the doctor and we ruled out that it was coming from my uterus or whatever, one of the first, and well, of course, they try to give you hormones. They try to, prescribe different things. They're different vaginal lubrications that you can use, to help that. But the one most important thing to do to combat vaginal atrophy is have more sex. Having
Really?
more sex.
So having more sex, even if it's bleeding, and
well, no, you take some of the other measures first. You
Okay.
possibly use some of the lubricant. You may even need some of the hormonal treatments, which more than likely using one that you can insert versus something that's systemic. But over the long haul, having regular and sex is what happens, because what it does is it causes your natural juices to flow. Let me just put it that way.
Okay.
It retrains your body to do what it's supposed to do during sex. And so I that is the fix. One of the biggest fixes for it is to have more sex. And so that is not an issue anymore. I've discussed it with my OBGYN, and she said, good job, keep doing what you're doing. And I'm saying, it's a good thing. So, and that's the message, I work with, you've started this podcast for women, you say sex after 40. And I work, my wheelhouse has been women 50 and above, but I'm finding more and more that it's the women 60 and above that are having more of the issues. And so my message to women is don't give up. And I think that's what a lot of women have done. I think that when you get to a point where you're having the pain and because they say the statistic keeps going up and I think it's because more and more women are talking about it more, is that between 30 and 50% of women have experienced pain during sex. Mm-hmm. And that was just crazy to me because, that's not ever been my issue, but I know that it can be an issue for some women. And what happens is even married women, when they start to have pain, they just give up. They just said, oh, I just don't want to do it anymore. And so, also if you have a man with erectile dysfunction, he's going to blame it on you anyway. So,
all time.
Yeah. All time. So you want to, try to combat that, of course, but at the same time, don't take that into your consciousness that it's your fault. You want to make sure that you do everything on your end if you want to continue to have sex, but that is also a choice. That is a choice. But as we keep hearing, a lot of women are alone and a lot of women are not partnered. And whether that's by choice or by chance, that needs to be something that is their choice, right, not by chance. So, yeah.
So what did you suggest what would you tell someone who is older, whose partner is struggling with ED, and they would like to, regain their sexual lives? So what can they do to maybe get their partner going to the doctor? How can you convince, because you know how men are, especially Black men.
Yeah.
Because I used to date somebody, and I'm 40, so I used to date somebody, I was in my 30s. He was older than me, though. He was 10 years older than me, who had ED issues because he had high blood pressure. Anyway, but, he really was like in denial about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
It was like, nah, it's you. Like, no, it ain't me.
Right.
It ain't me. Like, I know it ain't me because, but yeah, he was really in denial about it. So, for me, I wasn't married to him. So it was just easier for me to like leave the situation.
Yeah. Right.
But for people who are married, it's not as easy. So what is your advice for women who are in that situation currently?
I hate to say it this way, but tell him he either goes to the doctor or he don't even try to get none. You know, he needs to go to the doctor. He needs to take care of himself. I mean, I have two sons. They're 36 and 42. I'm after them about going to the doctor. They're, young and they have young children. You need to take care. You need to still be here for those kids
Right.
and their wives too. So they need, all men need to take care of their health. They need to be active and whatever. My partner, he he says he exercises at least an hour a day. He swims, he bicycles, he knows that it is tied to his sexual performance. He tells me that when he has been exercising, he knows he performs better. So that should be an encouragement for some men. I mean, some of these weekend warriors, if you did it a little bit more often than on the weekend, maybe it would keep your blood pumping better. I did date a guy who had heart issues. He couldn't do, of course, you got those little fixes. You got the blue pills and the pink pills and whatever the other pills are. You got to be healthy to take those.
Yep.
You know, so if you have heart issues, there's no possible way for you to, well, you shouldn't. Although I guess some men do take, get the pills otherwise. But I could definitely I could definitely predict. He had 3 heart attacks. I predicted his heart attack because I could tell when his cardiovascular system was not working properly by his ability to have sex or to be, for his, erectile dysfunction to be not a problem. So, and I think most women know, they can tell from their, if they're, been with their partner for a long time, they can tell when things are not right. And they just you guys gotta tell them, you better take your butt to the doctor because I want, I love you and I plan to be here with you, but you got to do your part. Part.
So for a woman who is single, 55 and up, and who is looking to date again or find a partner, where do you suggest they go? Or who do you suggest they find?
I think younger men are wonderful.
Okay.
Younger men are, because, I think that you were saying that older women, that your friend said older women are not looking for anything other than fun, basically. Mm-hmm. I think that sometimes it's the same thing with the younger men, but you got to go into it with that attitude though. You can't, like you said, you're not looking for children, but you might be looking for marriage. I've got a couple of friends though that they have met their partners online. They've met younger men, but they're also vibrant older women.
Okay.
So, but I mean, that doesn't mean that, there is somebody for everybody. So just because you may be, as they call, fun size, don't mean that there's not somebody out there that don't love fun size, So you got to be open. You got to keep yourself open to the possibility. I think that so many people just shut down. They just say, oh, it's not going to happen. Oh, and I think a lot of us hide behind our, I hate to say it this way, we hide behind our standards.
Okay, can you explain?
Looking for a husband and looking for a lifetime partner is different from looking for just having some fun. Correct. And you have to keep that in perspective. You have to protect yourself in that, you can't be out here raw dogging it with just everybody that comes along. You got to, you got to always take care of your sexual health and whatnot, but, be open to the possibilities. I've dated older men, I've dated younger men, and I've dated men my age. And I know a lot of women my age say, oh, the men that are my age are looking for women 20 years younger. Yeah, they might be. And you could probably tell me. I'm sure guys up to 60 and whatever are getting on you. But, it, like I said, it can also go both ways. I've heard people talk about men, and, we joke around and we talk about, what's the lowest age that you would date? And for me, it's 20 years younger. I would not date anybody 20 years younger because I don't want to date anybody my children's age.
Right.
So, but, and I have a sister who is close to me. She's younger than I am. And she don't want no old man. We joke about, there was a comedian named Moms Mabley.
Mm-hmm.
Can an old man can't bring you nothing but information. I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Uh-huh.
An old man can't bring me nothing but it's some information on the younger man. So, hey, that could be the case. But there are, you got to really be confident. You have to be confident that what you want is what you want. And at this stage of my life, I'm not necessarily looking for marriage. If it were to happen, it would be fine. But, if it doesn't, yeah. So, see, at your age, you shouldn't be saying that. But anyway.
No. I've never been married. So would I like to get married one day? Sure. I don't know, to be honest.
But it's not a priority.
It's not a priority. And I kind of feel like, I don't know if I missed the marriage window. Like, I don't know if I missed the marriage window. We'll see. No. I know I don't want children. But the marriage window, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. But, and I don't count that out either. You hear stories all the time about people that are, I look at it this way. My mother lived to be 97 years old. Mm-hmm. So that gives me 29 more years, possibly.
Yep.
So I could be with the love of my life for the rest of my life. And that is, that could definitely happen. But at the same time, I want to be able to be with that person for the rest of my life as well. And I guess that's another thing I think men don't think about. If you do get to a point where you cannot perform through sexual dysfunction, and you know that it's because of a health issue, wouldn't you rather be with a woman who loves you than still out here looking for the possibility?
I would think, but
I would think that too. But you don't
think that way.
They don't think that way. But I would love to help them think that way. Let's just put it that way. Because, like I said, at this point in my life, I don't want to think that way. I don't want to be with somebody who cannot perform because I want to continue to perform. But, if that time comes, I hope I'm with someone who I'm in it for the long haul with, as opposed to next,
Right. Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
So, Miss Tanya, so if there is someone on who's watching or listening and who would like to, I don't know, reach out to you, because maybe they have questions or maybe they're like you, someone who is, of a certain age and they're trying to get back into the swing of things. Do you have like a social media handle or something or email that people can reach out to you?
Yes. I have my Instagram is The Grand Diva, which is THE_GRANDDIVA. And I guess they can reach out to me by email as well. My email is...
You can send me the email and I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, I'll do that. Because I want to make sure that I don't miss messages from somebody. But I definitely would.
All right, Ms. Tanya, it was nice to have you.
Thanks for listening to Sex with Ashley. If you learned something today, do me a favor and send me a review and share this episode. And if you want more guidance, you can also purchase my book, Pleasure Please, available at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and wherever books are sold. Love you, mean it. See you next week.